friends, this is Lindsay for Fontsy. Thank you for joining me for this new tutorial. In today's video, we are going to be making a very popular home decor item, a vertical front porch sign. And maybe you've made these before. I've made them before with stencils and paint and adhesive vinyl. But in this video, we'll be showing you how to make it with heat transfer vinyl or HTV. And some people find working with HTV to be easier and faster. So if that's you, then you're gonna love this tutorial. Plus, the way we're going to be making it doesn't require a heat press, just a regular home iron. So let's go ahead and get started. So of course you'll need to start with your favorite front porch sign design. And the one that I'm using says home, but the O is a pumpkin. So it's a cute fall inspired front porch sign. And you can find this SVG and many others in the big fall and winter porch SVG bundle at Fontsy. So there's a link in the video description for that if you want to check it out. So you'll want to start off with cutting out your porch sign design in HTV. And I'm doing that with my CRICUT Maker and Scissor Easy Weed. But you can do that with any cutting machine, so like with your Silhouette Cameo or your Brother Scan and Cut, whatever you have. This is actually my first project with the CRICUT Maker. I'm excited, and I found that it cut fabulously, the Scissor Easy Weed, with the everyday iron-on setting. And I decided to use more than one color of HTV, but you could certainly stick to just one color if you like. The front porch sign that I'm making measures 12 by 24 inches. So if I had the large CRICUT cutting mat, I actually could have cut out the entire design. And if you have the large, 12 by 24 inch CRICUT cutting mat, then I would highly recommend using that. It just makes it easier down the line because then there are less smaller pieces of HTV in the design to piece back together. But as you can see here, the 12 by 12 mat works just great. So go ahead and cut and weed all of your HTV and then bring in your sign. So this is a 12 by 24 inch piece of wood. I got it from the craft store, and you could go ahead and paint it with some acrylic paint like I did. I just painted it white. You could stain it and seal it. You could leave it bare. But once it is all dry, then you are ready to apply your HTV. And for this project, a heat press just might not be the best piece of equipment to use. A large piece of wood and a heat press can be a little bit awkward to move around. So you might actually find it easier to apply the HTV with an iron. So here's my sewing iron here, which would work great. But if you have the option of using maybe a cheaper or older iron that you wouldn't be using for clothes, then that is probably ideal. Although I didn't find that there was any residue transfer or damage done to the iron. But if you have one that you can dedicate just to crafts, then that might be best. But another great option for this project would be the CRICUT Easy Press. So that actually might be just like the perfect thing for this. I just have the mini Easy Press, which would totally work as well. It's just small, and a regular size iron is much bigger, so you get the project done faster. But if that's all you have, my friends, then you can certainly use it. Now, one of the perks of working with HTV is that it is repositionable. So unlike adhesive vinyl, once you apply adhesive vinyl, you are not getting it back up. But with HTV, you can arrange the sign to your heart's desire and get it positioned, exactly where you want it. And the carrier sheet is sticky, but it's not so sticky that you can't lift it up and move things around. So you can put all the pieces of the sign that you cut from the HTV separately, piece it back together on the wood board. But if you used a larger cutting mat, you may only have one large piece, which would be really nice. But if you have multiple pieces of HTV like I have here, you're going to be piecing them back together to create your sign, to recreate the design. And there's one very important thing that you need to remember is that the HTV, the back of that weeded HTV, must be in direct contact to the wooden board underneath during application. So if you find that while you're arranging the separate pieces of the weeded HTV, that some pieces overlap each other, and you might find that now HTV is sitting on top of the carrier sheet of another piece of HTV. During application, you're going to want to make sure that that isn't happening. Otherwise, then you're not going to get the HTV to stick to the board. So there are a couple of things that you can do. One thing you can do is you can trim the carrier sheet as close as possible to the HTV, which is what I did for this section. Otherwise, you can just arrange the carrier sheets of the HTV, and then when you get to that section, you can just move the overlapping sections so that you can just press one area at a time. And so what I did is, since this pumpkin was in the way of the H that I was pressing, I just took a piece of heat transfer tape down the middle of it and used that as a hinge to roll back the top part that was in my way, so that I could just press the H and then get the other part, the pumpkin, out of the way, but not completely move it, because I still wanted it, I didn't want to have to rearrange it again. So this way allowed me to do that. And so then when I was ready to apply the pumpkin, I can just fold it back to each other, back onto the board. So take your iron, and I have mine set on the hottest setting, but Caesar recommends that if you're using an iron to set it on the setting between cotton and linen, if it has it. If you're using the CRICUT Easy Press, Caesar recommends pressing it at 335 degrees Fahrenheit. But you do want to cover this with a piece of butcher paper or parchment paper. And then this is just going to protect your iron or your easy press. But go ahead and press, a section for about 10 seconds. And if the iron or the easy press isn't big enough to cover the whole thing, which it might not be, then just press a section and then move on to a different section and press that for 10 seconds. And repeat doing that until you've pressed the whole thing. And then remove the carrier sheet. Let it cool enough so you can handle it. But watch the HTV as you remove the carrier sheet, because there might be areas that start to lift up. And if that happens, then just lay the carrier sheet back down and press that area again for another 10 seconds. And then you're just going to keep repeating these steps until you've pressed the entire design. So here I'm just going to move on to the next part. And cover it with parchment paper and press each section for 10 seconds. Now, if you did decide to trim the carrier sheets close to the edge of the HTV, which is what I did for the E and the M, then there shouldn't be any areas where the HTV, is laying on top of the carrier sheet of another piece. It should all be in contact with the wood underneath. Then you can just go ahead and press the whole thing. Just be really, really certain there aren't any overlapping areas, because in this project, there actually was a very tiny bit of the M that was overlapping on the letter E, on that leaf part. So it stuck to the carrier sheet after I pressed it, and it didn't, stick onto the wood. But luckily, it was just the very, very edge of the HTV, so I was able to fix it. So just be careful of that. And so you just repeat those steps until you have pressed the entire HTV transfer onto your wooden sign. Alrighty, so there you have it, friends, a home front porch sign made with heat transfer vinyl. So if you like this design, or you want to check out some more porch sign designs, you can find them in the big fall and winter porch SVG bundle at Fontsy. So I threw a link in the video description if you want to check that out. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.